The highest award that Washington State University can confer upon an individual is an honorary degree. This honor is something reserved only for those individuals who have achieved extraordinary distinction. In recognition of learning or devotion to literature, art, or science, today's honorary degree recipient exemplifies these ideals and has contributed to our great university in transformative ways. As a lifelong champion and patron of the arts, his shared collections have connected people across disciplines, generations, and cultural backgrounds. It is with tremendous pride that I introduce to you this truly transformational leader, Jordan D. Schnitzer. Mr. Schnitzer has created one of the nation's largest collections of contemporary fine art prints, a collection which is widely and publicly shared across our nation. He has been recognized with many honors and awards for his civic and cultural leadership. Mr. Schnitzer and his family's foundation have funded and organized over 90 exhibitions of works in his collection, exhibitions that have traveled to over 60 museums, including our own WSU Museum of Art. His contributions to Washington State University have led to the foundation for making a dream of a new Museum of Art a reality. We thank him so very much for his generosity and for his contributions. He believes that all people must have the opportunity to experience the arts as a part of the living fabric of our daily lives. His contributions create a positive impact on all of us and will continue to do so in the future. His mother, Arlene, is here with us this morning as well. And Arlene, it is wonderful to have you here and to share Jordan with WSU. Now, I would ask Regent Worthy and Mrs. Schnitzer to please join me here at the podium. And so it is in recognition of his extraordinary work on behalf of our nation that we provide this recognition of distinction to confer upon Jordan D. Schnitzer the honorary degree of Doctor of Fine Arts from Washington State University. Congratulations.
Great. And that makes you a full-blown Coug, you know.
We're there. Great man. I'll tuck this here. And whenever you need it.
The medal now goes with the Coug tie that I got yesterday. Thank you, President Floyd. As always, I just mentioned this is the most embarrassing part. Whenever I've been asked what I am most proud of accomplishing, I always say the next project. And I think that's really, if there's a message I can get to you today, it's that there's always another challenge. There's always something else to get involved with, to join with others, to help make universities, our communities, better places. So I truly am quite honored to be here today and share with you a few thoughts. I had a great speech all ready to go when I talked to Dr. Floyd a few days ago and said, "What would you like me to talk about?" And he said, "Hope and optimism." Now, I thought my speech was full of hope and optimism, but as you know, when Dr. Floyd suggests something to you, you say, "Yes, sir," right? So I changed a few comments, and I think they are full of hope and optimism. Several years ago, Tom Brokaw, the former NBC anchor, wrote a book about the men and women who fought in World War II, and it was titled The Greatest Generation. And he was right. Those grandfathers and great-grandfathers and grandmothers and great-grandmothers, they were courageous, and they fought. Many died. fighting for the ideals of freedom, fighting for us to be here today, letting us build our families, our communities, and they made the ultimate sacrifice. Thankfully, they were successful, and that's why we are here today. And therefore, all of us in Pullman, in the state of Washington, in this fabulous country, okay, we're blessed by what they did. At the same time, we're facing today challenges that may be different, but they're equally threatening as that greatest generation faced 75 years ago. You pick up a newspaper, you watch TV, you go online, and you see the issues all around the world in Syria, Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, Israel, and Palestine. We see man's inhumanity to man in a staggering way. It brings tears to our eyes. You see countries with Putin now pushing Russia, causing problems, China trying to exert its leadership role on the world stage. And in this country, in the last few weeks, we've seen the events in Ferguson. And we thought that with all the progress we've made in integrating all of the wonderful ethnic and religious groups in this country, which has helped make us the fabulous country we are, there's still issues that are simmering that have not been dealt with properly, and they're significant. It was different when I was growing up. I remember in the 4th grade when President Kennedy was president and the Cuba issue was going on. I remember going to bed and praying that there wouldn't be a nuclear war. I remember in 4th grade putting my hands over my head and getting underneath my desk, assuming that would somehow protect us from a nuclear holocaust. But in the end, even though there may have been a crazy moment with a president or a premier, you think they would have finally picked up that red phone on each of their desks and said, hey, what's going on? And in looking back over the last 50, 60 years, it really was a pretty calm time. And yet we know now that the seeds of many things have been germinating in many countries and in this country for years, have risen their ugly head. And I know that for all of the parents and grandparents and faculty who are here, none of us would have wished that the world would be in the state that it's in today. Now, this sounds pretty pessimistic, and there is a glass half empty to this. But in thinking about President Floyd's comment to me to speak about optimism and hope, I suddenly felt very optimistic and hopeful coming here. And that's because of all of you. And nothing was as impressive as this morning, waiting outside and watching all of you come in with those faces and those smiles, and your family, and the kids, and your brothers and sisters, and aunts and uncles and grandparents and friends. And as I look at you, and I read previously Mr. Neal's comments about that you're 70% more educated than the rest of the people in this country, and for those graduates and PhD candidates, you're 99% more educated. What dawned on me is that you are the best educated, the best trained, the most computer literate, and the most socially tolerant graduates WSU has ever had. And that's true with your peers across the country that are graduating now. You've had the benefit of all that we've learned. As I said, we're not pleased by the problems we have to deal with, but they are problems of your time, of your generation, and you must deal with them, and you will. And I'll finish in a minute or two, and we'll proceed. You'll get your degrees, you'll go off and celebrate with your families and party tonight. And soon, Monday will come. Many of you I talked to already have jobs. The rest of you with the education and training and the suggestions about the Alumni Association of having the university help you further, you'll end up with jobs. And you'll all go back to your communities. And what I ask you to do is first, you must assume this mantle of responsibility. These issues are yours. And in your communities, what I implore you to do is to get involved with public service at a local, state, national, international level. Joining together with others, with the training you've had, you can and will make a difference. And now what I want to suggest is a way to help you, because ultimately what we all strive for is balance. And balance is pretty hard to get today with all the competing distractions we all have. And yes, I'm now going to talk a little bit about the arts, which I couldn't get away with without talking about. So amidst your work, amidst your families, amidst dealing with all these issues I've just talked about, what I'll plead with you to do is get involved with the arts. Why? Because for me, the arts have been a place of refuge. I love all the arts: dance, music, theater, and especially visual arts. When I go to an art museum like I have here yesterday and previously and in other communities, it lifts my soul, raises my spirits, and I realize the arts have always been the highest ideals of society. Artists have always been and will be the chroniclers of our time. They force us to deal with the social issues, the political issues, the themes of current topics. And I know for me, and I know if you experience this too when you go there, and you open yourself up to it, okay, it speaks to you and does something to you. And whatever problems you went in there with, you'll go away calmer and maybe a clearer perspective as to how to deal with those issues. Now, for all you Cougs, when you come back in a few years, as you will, there'll be a new museum on this campus, and I've been proud to be associated with it. And this morning, when I went around and met a few people, Elise Ellington, who's going to dental school, and Chris Roderick in engineering, and Kayla Huff, where are you? Are you right in front of me someplace? Okay, you all, some of you had said you'd been in the museum already, and I want a commitment that all of you, when you come back, will go to this wonderful new museum. Right now, there's a show, and why the museum is so important to this campus. There's an exhibition of an artist named Roger Shiomura, and this goes back to exactly what I was talking about. Roger Shiomura was a Japanese-American born in Seattle, third generation. World War II came, along with 110,000 other Japanese Americans. They were interned. He went to Minidoka. He was 3 years old. Luckily, his father was a pharmacist, got a job and was able to move out of the camp to Chicago. Ultimately, Roger came back to the University of Washington, got an art degree, and has taught at the University of Kansas his whole career. That exhibition, which I saw a month or two ago and saw yesterday again, is exactly why art is so important to us. It deals with these issues of racial issues and stereotyping. And for me and all of you, with these big international issues and national issues I talked to you about, when you go see an exhibition like that, you can't help but maybe think about those issues in maybe a different way. And we've been all lucky on this campus to have Chris Bruce, the director of the museum, who's such a good friend and done an amazing job with that exhibition space, and what he's going to do with the new space is incredible. So let me conclude with this. And if you remember anything from this talk, it's that statement that too much is given, much is expected. And you've all been given a lot. The sacrifices your family made, you've made, those of you who stood up and working full time, amazing. But you've had the gift of this incredible education. No question, you've worked hard to get it. But you are the lucky ones. And now you must take on that mantle of responsibility I talked about. And you and your peers have to deal in the future with those issues. So congratulations and thank you. Thank you in advance for all that you're going to do to help continue to make this country the leading country in the world, the leader economically, the leader in compassion, the leader in peacemaking, and help continue to make this country the standard that every citizen in the world wants, admires, and wants to look up to. Thank you in advance for you ultimately being the greatest generation in the 21st century. Go Cougs.